Welcome to Haltix. Hal Ginsberg. It is March 23rd, and I'm getting a little bit of a late start, folks. Sorry about that. But I'm still working on getting everything looking, sounding, prepared exactly the way I want it to. So we're living kind of a little bit, I won't want to say on the edge, not on the edge, but just still, this is still part of, let's put it this way, the soft launch, right? That famed soft launch continues at Haltix. I hope the content is worth it. We're going to go over a number of topics that we continue to visit. These are I'm not reinventing the wheel. There's going to actually address child labor, which hasn't been part of this program. And it's hard because the topics aren't all upbeat, right? It's not fun and laughter and last second jumpers that swish and change the trajectory of a basketball game. I mean, that all has its place. I'm not saying no to that, but I'm just saying that's not what I do. I'm here to debate, discuss, go over the issues of the day, hopefully learn from you, and hopefully you'll learn a little bit from me. I always, I'm a contrarian. Whoever I'm talking to, I disagree with. It's really unfortunate. I wish that weren't the way it is. That's who I am. So you don't get your views, you're not going to have your wisdom confirmed here. I am going to be challenging you, and hopefully you'll challenge me. So we're going to get into that in a few minutes. There was a letter to the editor in the Monterey Herald today by my friend Arlen Grossman, and I really take issue with a lot of it. I've urged Arlen. I sent him an email this morning when I realized I was going to talk about this to call in. If he doesn't call in today, maybe we'll get his take tomorrow, but it's not going to be real positive towards the letter. It's always going to be real positive towards Arlen. Before we do that, though, I want to play a video, and they're related, right? Because all these issues, you hear a lot about intersectionality, and usually the term intersectionality is used by woke people, and I use the term woke somewhat pejoratively, and I know a lot of the people on the progressives don't like that, and they think woke is a great compliment, right? You're woke to all the injustices of the world. My take is a little different. I think when the term is used, whether by people on the left or the right today, it generally means, especially the people that I spend my time with, people who are more progressive, woke generally means a view that people's place in the world is generally defined by their identity, by their racial identity, by their ethnic identity, by their place of birth, and that you're a victim or a victimizer based on that identity. I don't say that's completely wrong, but it's certainly not completely right either. I think whether you're a victimizer or a victim is much more based on your economic status and by what you do in the world today. And you might be neither, right? I mean, some people are neither victims nor victimizers. I hope I'm neither. I consider myself certainly very, very fortunate. So I'm not sure what I would be a victim. Yeah, certainly the climate cataclysm, the climate catastrophe. But in general, my life is pretty good. I hope I'm not a victimizer. I do my best to try to treat people fairly and to try to build a better planet, a better world for tomorrow for everybody. So I like to think, and to the extent I succeed at that, I hope I'm neither a victim nor a victimizer. But I do think, of course, there are victims and victimizers, and a lot of times the victims are people of color, and a lot of times the victimizers are white men, but lots of times they're not. So I don't think your status as a victim or a victimizer, or perhaps neither, depends on your color, your skin color, your the accent of birth. That often determines it, but not all the time. So I look much more at what you do, what your status is economically, and how you're trying to navigate your place in the world and that of your children to determine, whether you are any of those things. So that's what I think woke is. Woke says, hey, you're an African American, you're a victim. You're a person of color from Latin America, you're a victim. You're a transgender person, you're a victim. You're a cis white male, you're a victimizer. I don't buy that. That's why I am not woke. That's why I have problems with being people who claim to be woke. Here is the video I promised you yesterday from the rally 2 days ago. You'll see my little mouse cursor. I hate that. Why does it show that? Is there a way to not cap? See, I don't think, and I'm going to go look at this. There's a way when I do my, yeah, see, I don't think the window captured. Oh, look, there it is. It is capturing my cursor, but I don't think that's the one you see. Yeah, see, there's two cursors. All right, here's the video. All right, so there we go. All right, yeah, we weren't hearing that audio, folks. Sorry about that. Let me see if there's a, is that not, I guess I've got to change one setting, which I hope this is the only setting I need to change, and it was quite loud. So we'll see if this works now. Let's hope this works, folks. Because this is a real nice video, too. This is our rally downtown. So let's see if this works.
Not on yet.
Funding gas, coal, and oil to build a brighter day. Pulling wealth from the soil. Fossil fuels are the way.
Funding, funding, funding. Your destruction's just begun. Your greed is on the run. Charlie Sharp is a liar. I ask you all to hear him out. If his quotes don't seem quite kosher, make a noise, give a shout.
Climate change is one of the most urgent environmental issues of our time.
Yes, true.
Wells Fargo is committed to transitioning to a net zero carbon economy.
Liar, 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 liar.
My advisors tell me the Arctic is not melting. It's actually getting colder.
Do you think that we can't see? You're the #1 funder of MVP. Your lethal legacy festers and mounts. We're closing our accounts.
Hey, do I have you on caller? I guess I was muted, right? That was the problem.
That's it. Thank you.
All right. And see, I want people to call in to talk to me, but they just want to tell me I'm muted. Sorry, I was muted. I've got to get this better. I will get better at this. And we'll take out the muted portion. Isn't that awful, folks? I don't know how long I was going on and you weren't hearing me. I got to get, see, this is so unfortunate. Okay, let's get to it. So I'm going to go back. You heard my video and it was really nice. So U.S. estimates 200,000 military casualties, all sides. That's 4 months old. How many more deaths do we need to see in Ukraine before we recognize what a disaster this is? How much death and destruction we're facilitating? Both sides are near exhaustion, and we're now sending more tanks over there. The stalemate will continue. The trench warfare will continue. It is just like World War I, the Great War that just led to the loss of a generation in Western Europe. And now we're seeing it in Russia and Ukraine, where they have been bloody deaths for over a century. From the World War I, through Stalin, through Hitler, through the Communist Party, the great reorganizations there, and now yet more death and destruction. How long does this have to continue before we say, basta, enough, stop it, stop it, stop it? Unfortunately, my good friend Arlen Grossman is not at that point. And I do find it very, very disappointing, very, very disheartening, because I've spent, and by the way, Hal, don't mute your microphone. That's my message to me. Don't mute your mic. We're going to, we'll get there. But the question there, how long, how many deaths How many deaths do we have to see before we'll push for peace and stop with the facilitating and greasing the war machine? So Arlen Grossman is not where I am. My good friend Arlen is not where I am. And I find this letter very, very disappointing. I have invited Arlen to join me. I have invited Arlen to get on the call with me, maybe tomorrow. I have a lot of problems with this letter. First of all, there's the dismissiveness towards people who don't share his view that we need to provide a bottomless supply of military materiel to Ukraine. So anyone who disagrees is apparently confused. Now, they said we didn't ask for help from other countries in the Revolutionary War. That is true. We did ask. So whoever said we didn't ask for help from France is incorrect. We did. But France didn't impose its will on us the way we're imposing our will on Ukraine, including saying, no, we're not going to negotiate. We're not going to have a ceasefire. I mean, that was my response. France didn't say you can't sue for peace with England. But we're telling Ukraine no peace with Russia. We've just said to them, any ceasefire, a Biden administration lackey said, any peace with Russia, any ceasefire would be a loss, would mean the end of Ukraine. And of course, it's just the opposite. Any peace with Russia, any ceasefire now would be the saving grace of a country that is currently bleeding to death. And you continue. If you disagree with Arlen, if you disagree with the war machine, if you disagree with the Democratic Party, you're an increasingly pro-Russian MAGA cultist. It can't be that you don't like to see hundreds of thousands of people killed. It can't be that you want to see an end to NATO expansion east because it provokes Russia. It can't be that maybe you see both sides, not just Putin, are to blame for this. It's just that you're a pro-Russia MAGA cultist. Well, I don't think that helps us have a conversation. I think that ends conversations. It says if you're for any kind of peace talks, any kind of ceasefire, you're the enemy. And why are you the enemy? Well, Putin invaded illegally and without provocation. By the way, that is not true. There were neo-Nazi attacks on Russian speakers in the Donbass region. This continued. This was not being stopped. Putin was consistently asking for a guarantee that NATO would not continue to expand eastward as it has been doing. And by the way, expanding to countries that are far from democratic, like Turkey. And we refused to give that guarantee. We were intervening against pro-Russia politicians in Ukraine for decades, including, now I can't remember the guy's name who was president back in 2014, 2012, 2013, that we helped depose. Not saying he was anything great, but neither has been Zelensky. So it's a dance that both sides, Russia and the West, have been participating in. And to claim it was without provocation reflects, I believe, an ignorance of the history or deliberate ignorance. Then you have terms like megalomaniac. Putin does really, if you look at his record, he has no he has acted with, cruelty, tyranny over his people. There are people that he poisons. But it's hard to see this guy as someone bent on world domination. It doesn't reflect the reality on the ground. In fact, as we pointed out on another program here, many experts are surprised that Putin didn't go more scorched earth, that it's taken this long for him to be pushing this battle of attrition to the point where we're just seeing death after death after death. And the final indignity that Arlen heaps on those of us who want to push for peace, who want a ceasefire, who don't want to send more and more deadly weaponry to Ukraine is that we're appeasers. We're Neville Chamberlain. We've underestimated Hitler. I think the greater danger by far is overestimating Putin. Russia is a small country. Its population is in decline. It is hemmed in by enemies. When it has tried military adventurism abroad, like in Afghanistan, and currently now to a degree in Ukraine, it's been largely shut down. Its southern border in the east with China is with a country that's expanding, that's far more, vibrant and dynamic economically. Putin is not the threat that we're making him out to be. And the idea that Russia is going to take over Ukraine simply, again, does not reflect the reality on the ground. Russia is not going to take over Ukraine. It's not even close. There's no way a ceasefire. What Arlen is saying, and let me just go back real quick on this, that if we somehow sue for peace, we're giving Russia Ukraine the way Chamberlain handed over. And by the way, Chamberlain gets all the blame, but Daladier, the French, was it Daladier? I don't know. The French premier was also complicit, but of course, France was so weak at that point in Munich, there was really nothing they could do. They just wanted anything not to have a war. But what Arlen is saying is if we have peace, if we try to broker some kind of a peace settlement with Russia now, we're giving them Ukraine. It's just not true. It's just not true. Here are the present borders with Russia and Ukraine. And the pink on the right is what Russia has apparently is occupying. And the purple is contested ground. The white is Ukraine, and the red squares are where you're seeing missile strikes. This is the BBC March 9 of this year. So it wouldn't be giving Russia Ukraine if we had a ceasefire. It wouldn't be giving Russia any large cities except those in Crimea, which they already occupied before they started their invasion from the east. A ceasefire just means an end for now of the deaths and the killings. I don't understand this attitude. We can't even talk to this guy. I don't understand why. Where does that come from? We can't sue for peace. We'd be giving him Ukraine. No, it's just not true. It's just false. And it really does reflect, by the way, accepting the corporate media, the current administration's worldview that they want you to have. I don't know what their world, the one they want you to buy. They want the one they want you to accept, that we've got to be involved in this ugly, deadly, bloody conflict. It's just not true. All right, let me, now why is this? We talk about functionality a lot, functionalism on the show. What is the function of the endless war there? Well, certainly part of it is it enriches the war machine. It enriches supporters of funders, backers of both parties. Hakeem Jeffries, the Democratic minority leader, is his top funders are AIPAC, the American Israeli Political Action Committee, which certainly loves the war with Russia. They don't have any problem with it. And the investment banks on Wall Street. By the way, if you've seen how Wall Street's doing, despite inflation, despite rises in interest rates, the stock market's doing fine. We had a bad year, I guess, or it had a bad year, but you'd think war, you'd think all of the economic unrest that we're seeing would cause some kind of downturn. The enormous budget deficits would cause a downturn. Not at all. Stock market's doing just fine, folks. And that's because of the massive spending on war. So fine, we want to keep the economy vibrant. How about we spend it on peace? How about we spend it on poor, struggling, working people? How about we spend it on addressing the climate cataclysm? We're doing just the opposite. And I don't know what to say. I don't know how to communicate to import to you how awful that is. By the way, caller, thank you so much for letting me know I was talking and you weren't hearing me. And I should see it because there's this level that just bounces back and forth. It was just not there. So I don't know whether I need something to beep in my ear or something, or say, you dummy, you jerk, you dumbass, you're not talking, or you're talking and no one's hearing you. All right, back to, let's get to the slide. So again, we're not giving Ukraine to Russia. We're not giving some great victory to Putin if we negotiate a ceasefire now. We stop. What we do is we end the missile strikes across Ukraine that are killing civilians. We stop the killing of soldiers in both armies, and we hopefully come to some kind of lasting peace. The pink area there is mostly, not completely, by far Russian speaking, and the Crimea is already under Russian control. Russia is now under Russian control anyway. So if this isn't some great victory for Putin, if we have a ceasefire now, if that's what you're concerned about, if you want to stick it to Putin, having a ceasefire now wouldn't be giving him some great win whatsoever, nor would it be turning Ukraine over to Russia. All right. So what are we not doing because we're fighting? What are we forsaking? What do we lose? Besides, we don't. Americans aren't fighting this war. The people who are on, in the U.S. who are saying, "Oh yeah, we got to keep fighting. We got to keep the killing going." They're not the ones who are being killed. They're not the ones whose land is being destroyed. What aren't we doing? Well, here's one thing we're not doing. We're not cutting our emissions. We're not addressing the climate cataclysm as we need to do. And you saw that video, I played it earlier. Does that help? Do you think getting out in the streets? I think it's worth it. Why not? We got to do something. We might as well stand in the streets of DC and New York and San Francisco and hopefully make a little bit of a difference. Does it really help? I don't think. I fear it doesn't. And you know why? It doesn't help because we don't really live in a democracy. The people who are in those big banks, they make those decisions. We don't make those decisions. So we have 11 years to cut emissions. Wait a second. It's not 11. Look at the date on this. November 4, 2021, a year and 4 or 5 months ago. Basically, we have less than 10 years. What's your source? NPR. I'd say they're reliable. That is a picture of China. Those new power plants right where people are living. I'm surprised the skies are still somewhat blue in that photo there. And China has many, many, many more coal-fired plants coming online. That is the fruit of free trade, folks. That is the fruit of our decision to offshore our manufacturing base, have no control over what kind of energy China uses to generate its construction, its manufacturing. We have no say over that at this point, or very little, unless we start bringing back the jobs, bringing back the construction. And what are we not doing? We're not working with China. We're not working with Russia. We're not working with Western Europe to immediately transition to clean, green energy. And why not? Because we're all fighting over and fighting in Ukraine. That's the function. That's the function of this war beyond any other, is to divide us, to keep us fighting amongst ourselves, frankly, to keep Putin fighting, who provides a bit of competition for Western oil and gas concerns and Western coal concerns by his pipeline of gas to Western Europe. So we shut that down. We blew up that Nord Stream pipeline. That's what's going on here. That's the purpose of this war. That's the function, is to keep us from actually addressing the massive inequality, the massive wealth and income gap, and the obscene profits that the for-profit multinational corporations are lapping up. That's what's going on here. And as long as we defend the actions of the military-industrial complex, we're not going to take on the world's destroying problems, the existential threats we face. And it's not, look, this is a terrible, terrible thing. The climate cataclysm. It's not the only threat we face. It's not the only challenge, shall we say. It's not the only human catastrophe. So what else are we not doing? Well, we're not stopping this. I mean, children are working in factories again. And a lot of it's illegal, and no one's doing a damn thing about it. Republicans have fought tooth and nail against any kind of penalties for corporations or businesses who employ children. What are they doing? Is it like, it's kind of maybe raking leaves, right? Or delivering newspapers? They're operating fryers and assembling auto parts. In Arkansas, Sarah Huckabee Sanders just signed legislation doing away with regulations that make 14 and 15-year-olds receive a work permit before taking on paid employment. So why is this going on? Why is this happening? And by the way, much more likely to happen in red states and much more likely to happen in poor states. Families are, look, we've talked about it. With the growing gulf between rich and everybody else and ever greater unemployment. Well, I won't say unemployment, underemployment. We have full employment. We don't need kids to work these jobs. The problem is that wages are going up. So employers are looking for cheaper labor. Well, if you increase the pool of potential workers with migrants and with children, then you drive the cost of labor down, which is certainly what they're trying to do, drive the cost of labor down. But also because wages still are way too low, but poor families, struggling families are like, well, hey, if I send Johnny or Jenny out to work at the Popeyes or to work at the assembly plant, then they'll make enough so that we can stay in our home. So they can stay in their home, so they won't be living in our van. It's not good. I don't want them working in a restaurant kitchen. I don't want my child working on the line, the Nissan line. I don't want that. But the choice is that, or we don't pay for their medications. This is the Sophie's choice that we're presenting people with, because we haven't. The biggest reason, actually, is because we've let all those jobs go offshore, which is also, of course, fueling the climate cataclysm. So all these issues are related. They're all interconnected. They all intersect. And when we take the side of the mic, when we mock people who are pro-peace, then we're undermining the fight to save the planet and, frankly, the fight to save our children. I wish I had answers, folks. I can give you the grand, the bird's eye view as I see it. Obviously, it's as I see it. I'm the bird who's sharing it. But that's basically all I can do. Ultimately, I think we have to break away from this party duopoly that has created these conditions. And we really are moving towards some kind of hellscape. I understand that's not happy to talk. I know no one wants to hear it. By the way, the caller who called in and told me I wasn't broadcasting audio, call me next time and talk to me. I want to talk to you. That's why we do this. That's why I do this, because I want your take. I want to hear what you have to say. I want your reactions. I think I'm pretty good at this. I've had people say that to me, whose opinion I respect, but I don't want to do it by myself. I can, of course, if I do it by myself, sometimes you don't hear me. You can see my lips flap, but you won't hear what I have to say. So I really do want you to join me. It's 11:45. I'm going to do something nice for me. I'm going to go watch basketball this afternoon or this evening. I hope you have a great day. Don't forget Haltics. And I always say it at the end, right? I should say at the beginning, subscribe and like my videos. We got to make this sucker blow up. There need to be more progressive voices out there, and there needs to be you want to call it a town hall? I don't know. Doesn't Tom Hartman say he provides your town hall or something? I don't really like Tom Hartman's town hall. He has ultimately become a Democratic apologist. That's not what you find on Halitics.